This is the second of 2 games by Sebastian J. This one is called KTO Crisis. This also is not final components, as you can see, but it'll give you an idea of how to play the game so that you can better understand. So in this game, we have a little bit more of an area control game going on where we have these nodes. You're going to place one of each faction's piece based on the number here. So 2, 2. This capital gets 2, as well as this capital up here gets 2, 4 here, and 5 down here. And then you're going to take some pieces down here to show when you have used these special forces and airstrikes down here for your ROK special abilities. You have 5 pieces over here for your special forces and nuclear capabilities that you might use as the DPRK here. We also have PRC Intervention. We'll talk about those more in a minute. And then we have some PRC forces here for when PRC Intervention might happen in the game. So let's go ahead and talk about play. Each node on the peninsula is worth 1 VP. Each capital node is going to be worth 5 VP, and there are special conditions when both sides lose the game and ends in a draw. In the case of a tie, the player who previously went first retains initiative going first in the next round. The game is played over a total of 10 rounds. During your turn, you're going to move as many armies as you desire, but each army may only move 1 node per turn. So armies cannot move through other nodes with opposing armies. Why is that important? Let's say you move in here on a turn in the future. You can't then retreat out of there if you are still alive. You have to retreat back to where you came. That's what that means. And you can go into these ocean nodes, but they're not going to do a lot for you until you start hitting these things up here. Basically, the PRC doesn't like that you're doing that, and they're going to impede your movement if you are the ROK. The DPRK is going to take the first movement turn in the game and decide what they're going to do. If we get to the end of the game and there are nodes on the peninsula which are empty, do not revert to whoever had them last. They just revert to who had them at the beginning of the game. So if this were empty, it would be worth 1 victory point for the DPRK. A node can also be contested. That's worth no victory points. Contested node contains pieces from both factions, and if opposing armies are contesting the node, the VP for the node does not count towards either player until full control is established. If an opposing army exclusively occupies a node, it controls the node and any VPs there. Combat is initiated whenever 2 opposing armies exist in the same node at the end of a player's turn. So let's say the DPRK did something like this. They have 3 forces here. I know it's kind of hard to see, and there's 2 for the ROK. They're going to resolve that with simple die rolls. In the case of the DPRK, they're going to roll 3 times. Any roll of a 5 or higher will eliminate an opposing force. So they didn't roll any 5s, and 1 and 2. For there, nobody died. They're just contested there. That's a pretty common outcome in this game because of that high roll needed. The game will come with 2d6. You can add additional d6 if you need to speed up gameplay, or you can just roll multiples on your turn. The thing that makes the game most interesting is the different special abilities. Each player has special abilities which can be used multiple times in a turn unless they are specified otherwise. When a special ability is used, place a faction piece on the special ability slot. If you have no more slots, you can no longer use those abilities. So let's talk about these abilities for the ROK first. ROK has Alliance Fighter Jets. Before rolling for any combat, say here, the ROK Alliance fighters may add 4 dice to a friendly force engaged in combat in 1 node, eliminating an opposing army on a roll of 4+. So instead of being 5+, you roll here. So here we could roll 4 times. 1, 2. Okay, so there's 1 out of 4 that would take 1 out before the combat even began. It does not add anything to what the army rolls. It just gives you the possibility of limiting opposing forces before you go into the fight. Once you've used that ability, you place it on top of the fighters to show that they have been used for the game. That's it. The other type of action that you have is your special forces. Special forces may eliminate and place a marker on, as if the DPRK had used it, one of these nuclear things here. So the special forces will roll. If the roll is a 3+, the nuke is eliminated from play. In this case, this nuke would be eliminated from play. If both DPRK nukes have already been used or eliminated, you can instead use it to attack a single node anywhere on the board. You get to roll 2d6, and for each roll of 5+, eliminate an opposing army. The DPRK has asymmetric special abilities. These abilities include their nukes. Select a single node with opposing armies anywhere, maybe here with the 5 armies, and roll 4d6. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we had a 5, 4, 2, 2. With that 5, 4, 2, 2, we could eliminate 2 of these forces because it's on a 3+, just like with the fighter jets, you eliminate some of those forces. However, once you're done with that, you have to roll a single die and see if you've caused mutual destruction with your nuclear armaments. You roll anything higher than 3+ and you have ended the game. Otherwise, just place a marker there to show that that nuke has been used. For the special forces on the DPRK side, you roll 2d6, targeting any node on the map. For each roll of 5+, eliminate an opposing army. In this case, you would eliminate 1, and that would be it. There's 2 types of PRC intervention on the board. Whenever an ROK Alliance piece enters a node with the red die icon next to the node, the ROK Alliance must roll a d6. So that would be on any of these spaces with a die. If there are multiple ROK Alliance army stacks that enter the node, each of them must roll a die. In other words, each one of these pieces is an army. On a roll equal or greater than the number associated with the node, then you're going to place a PRC piece on the next available PRC intervention slot and use that intervention slot, initiating its effect. Each PRC intervention is a one-time only effect. The first action causes 4 of these PRC armies to enter into these nodes here. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and another 4 come in on the other side over here. At the end of the turn, these armies will end up fighting any opposing forces in their node. At the end of the turn, these armies will fight any opposing forces in their node, prioritizing the ROK Alliance, then the DPRK if there are no ROK Alliance armies in that node. The PRC armies are neutral to the players and not controlled. The second action, the DPRK player receives 2 DPRK armies in its capital node. Then roll 2 dice, eliminating an ROK Alliance army in the triggering node for each roll of 5+. If this were the case where I initiated this action with the rockets here, where I got reinforcements here, then I rolled 2 dice, and because I didn't roll a 5+, my armies here would be fine. It just means that there's more forces in the capital over here. Remember that both capitals here and here give you an additional 5 points at the end of the game. The game goes back and forth with players taking turns moving their armies, trying to take over nodes until you finish a total of 10 rounds. And once that is completed, whoever has the most points from nodes on the peninsula wins the game. Let's say this were the case at the end of a game. Here, the PRC has eliminated the DPRK forces. Here, there is a contested node where the DPRK maintained, but they still have shared armies with the PRC. And then we have 1, 2, 3 nodes that the DPRK has, as well as their capital, for a total of 8 points. This node is not on the peninsula, but it's also contested. So for a total of 1, 2, 3, and then the 5 for the capital, this node has been taken by the ROK Alliance. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, plus their capital node. So a total of 10 to 8, with the ROK winning in this case. If this looked more like, let's say this, where it was 4 nodes and 4 nodes with capital for each, in this case, this would be a draw. This is a possible ending of the game. The game can also end in the mutual destruction of both, with an irrevocable loss, which is a major loss to the DPRK side if they use their nukes and make the world end in the peninsula.